Motion carried unanimously that the Mariner Center is going to operate the bridge facility. So that was the first recommendation that moved forward. That moved forward with no changes. So what is the wishes of the committee on the second recommendation that was moved forward? Trevor?
Yes, I'll move that the main expansion committee, which this is, approve the second recommendation from the bridge committee, which is to allow funds allocated by the 3 municipal units to be accessible to the Mariner Center management to develop a business plan and budget.
All right, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconded by Guy? Is there any discussion on that motion? I seen Gil, then Daniel. So Gil, you have the floor first.
Just a quick question. I'm wondering if there's any estimate on the cost of the things that are quoted.
No. That's work that will need to be completed, but nobody has gone out to seek an estimate from anybody on this. That's work that will be done under Mariner Center. And we didn't, until the meeting, Mr. Chair, where the recommendation for Mariner Center was made, we didn't have anything to say it's going to be Mariner Center. So obviously Mariner Center hasn't done any work on that front either. So, but anticipating that we want to get this done and back to us as soon as possible, it's quite likely that some assistance might be engaged through a consultant. So that's what that second recommendation is anticipating.
Thank you. I'll be supporting the motion.
Duram, did you have anything to add to that question or not?
No, those are the facts.
Okay, so Daniel, I see you're the next one. Then I see Danny afterwards. I'm just turning off my phone. I just heard it squeal. I don't want that going off in the background. So go ahead, Daniel.
So I was part of the motion to bring this forward and to develop a business plan and a budget. Is there any need for a feasibility study in there as well? Just to know what we think our costs are going to be, or will that be part of the business plan? I don't know if that's a dumb question or not, but
I think it's more or less the same thing, Daniel. It's the business plan will feed into the budget. So the business plan is sort of what are we going to do and how are we going to do it, and the budget is what do we think the revenues and expenses are going to look like, to execute that, and the question of feasibility is, does it make sense, kind of economically to make it happen? So I think they're basically, the question you're asking about feasibility will be answered through the business plan and budget.
oh, that's kind of what I thought, Jeff. I just wanted to make sure. That's all. But thank you. Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Danny?
Yeah, just wondering, okay, the money that's a 225,000, whatever, because I think it was 75. So that money is not to be used to open at all then, like it's just to do the preliminaries to get there. So this money has nothing to do with to be spent on anything regarding opening the Y. Is that correct? You know what I mean? Like if there's any work or whatever, it's all to do with the business plan, the planning of the business plan and the budget. Is that so? It just seems to me like it's a lot for what we're doing there, for doing the studies. I'm not sure if it is or not.
Jeff and/or Victoria. I seen Jeff's hand up first.
Sure. Yeah. So actually, Danny, I think the business plan and budget will cost a lot less than that to develop. I think
Right.
that at least from the town council perspective, or at least from my perspective, when I supported, recommending to council that they match the contribution or the commitment that Argyle had made, is when I made that recommendation to council, it was, we know there's going to have to be a lot of work done to in terms of figuring out what's going to be done, who's going to do it, what will it look like. You might have, well, you've got to have staff, you're going to have things you're going to need to spend money on. And that 225 would go towards all of that. We don't know how much this first piece is going to cost. It's not going to cost 225. It's going to cost far less than that. But the money is all still sitting in 3 separate bank accounts, right?
Yes.
We're still holding our own money. And in order to make some of that available for Mariner Center to do the work we all need done, this recommendation to the owners will say, if it's approved at the owner's level or at the funder's level, the municipal level, then I would say that we would expect Mariner Center to do the work and to invoice each of us for a share of the cost. As far as any other expenditure out of that pot, well, if the business plan and budget are approved by the 3 owners, I would suggest it would make sense that we're going to give our money or allocate our money to Mariner Center to then execute the plan. And so that's the way I envision it. Doesn't mean it's going to be the way it is. I'm just telling you what I think.
Well, that's what I kind of figured. Like I just thought it was a lot of money when just for the business plan and whatever, and that's why I asked, is some of that money going to be going towards the reopening as well? I mean, it's all part of the same thing.
Yeah. The business plan will be a small fraction.
Okay, good.
I would expect.
Thank you.
Victoria, you had anything to add to that?
No, not really, except to say that, in addition to professional fees to help us create the business model and figure out how to step into this, the most recent piece of advice or information we have from MCW AmeriCorps does come with other questions as well. So, there is additional engineering work and whatnot to be done that, to your point, Warden Muse, it doesn't technically open the doors, but it's work that has to be done in order to open the doors. So yeah, the 225 sounds like a lot of money, but there's a lot to do, the ribbon cutting for sure.
All right, you happy with that, Danny? Or any follow-ups? I seen Guy, you had your hand up. You go ahead.
Yes, just to add on to what Jeff said and Victoria, certainly that was my understanding too, that from the municipality of Argyle's perspective, as far as our money being in the pot, once it comes to us to allocate money out, it'd be up to council to do so. And according to our meeting that we had of the subcommittee, yes, it was to make a business plan to use some of that money, again, just to repeat what Jeff said, to use some of that money to see if we have a business plan. And once we get that, like Daniel said, that'll probably give us a better idea. What is it going to cost? What's it going to cost to open this place up? Oh, the staffing and all that stuff that comes with it. I'm hoping that'll answer that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Just a quick question. I was just wondering, is there any procurement strategy or policy that the Mariner Center uses in regards to putting out tenders to hire professional services? Does there need to be multiple quotes? I'm just kind of wondering what was entailed with actually procuring professional fees. And I guess, is it the administration of the Mariner Center that will oversee the development of the business plan?
Jeff or Victoria, you have an answer for that?
So I could offer, I believe Mariner Center's procurement policy mirrors, I believe it mirrors the towns, but Durham could confirm that. In the case of professional services, typically it's not a tender, usually an RFP, because there's aspects to a professional service beyond price alone. And it would be Mariner Center's administration that would carry out that work.
Okay.
And Rachel, I can say that I believe in terms of tendering, it's about the dollar figure above a certain value. We have to put it out to tender. As far as professional services, I need to look that up and I can answer you that back quickly, but I'll defer to what Jeff said for now.
Okay, thanks.
Victoria?
Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, so, you know, we're asking the Mariner Center to help lead this. I'm stepping out on a limb. I haven't chatted with my colleagues about this, but, you know, developing the RFP is critical to the types of proponents that bid on them. And, you know, maybe if I'm hearing Rachel correctly, maybe the CAOs could provide some support to the Mariner Center, specifically Durham, in terms of drafting the RFP, just to get as many minds on this as possible, to get as high quality a product as possible.
Absolutely. I've just sort of been tempering my excitement here because my understanding is that there's more approvals required. So I'm just waiting for someone in this room to say, okay, Durham, you can now jump.
And I should qualify, when I say CAOs, that now includes Rachel. And so I'm not sure if I've given you a promotion or not, Rachel, but you're part of the collective, I guess, at this point on this file.
All right, Rachel, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thanks.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion on the floor, or questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, I'd entertain a question on the motion then. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, new business, item 5.1, fundraising subcommittee. Who's going to speak to that? Jeff?
I'll go ahead and speak to it first. So I don't know if I would have put the word subcommittee there, because I'm not necessarily sure that it needs to be a separate committee, but let's just set that aside for a moment. Want to talk generally about fundraising for the project. I don't think that we can start too early in terms of getting prepared for the fundraising element. The fundraising itself will do a couple of things. One is a successful fundraising campaign will demonstrate to the higher levels of government, the community buy-in and support for the project. And it will also demonstrate to ourselves that the project plan that we are developing is supported broadly in the community. So I spoke with a couple of fundraising consultants over the last couple of years about this project. Most recently, a fellow from New Brunswick who certainly encouraged that two things. One is that we set approximately a 10% of project budget goal as a capital fundraising goal. And secondly, that we not hesitate to start early for the reasons that I expressed. One of the things that we've been advised, and Victoria and I spoke with a consultant on corporate sponsorship. I guess it's been 2 years ago now, Victoria. Brent Barutz, and one of the things he advised is that you would start this sort of process by engaging a professional to do a feasibility study. And so just to be clear, we're talking about a fundraising campaign to raise $3.5 million. It's not the kind of thing that is going to be done easily through bake sales and car washes. This is a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of work, and the kind of work that we should engage professionals on. So what the feasibility study does, the first step in the process, is you hire a consultant. They would come in, they would look at the project, and they would have a list of key opinion leaders and potential contributors in your region, and they would interview them, and they would talk about the project, and they would get a sense from them of what they think the appetite of major donors in the community would be to support a project like this. And ultimately, they'd come back to you with a report and tell you that the fundraising goal seems achievable, or that maybe it isn't. But certainly, they would hope it would be achievable. And they may also gain from those interviews some leads on some people that you may want to put on a fundraising caucus or committee to lead that philanthropic campaign. So I'm discussing this or bringing this to you today because I don't think you can start too early in terms of preparing your RFP to engage your fundraising consultant to do your feasibility study. And just wanted to start that conversation, see what the reaction is.
Gil.
Oh, thank you. You may recall back in January, I believe it was, that one of the comments I made was it's not too soon to start fundraising. And I firmly believe that. When Skate Yarmouth did the fundraising campaign to get the original facility, we actually raised in excess of $1 million, and very little of that was philanthropy. It was the majority of it was elbow grease. But I think the beauty of starting your fundraising campaign early is that you engage the community at the earliest possible time, and community engagement is very important. I will say that I received correspondence from Mr. Libby, and he expressed some bewilderment that there was no community involvement on this committee, because that was the strength of Skate Yarmouth back 2.5 decades ago. But I assured him that the committee had its head on straight, and I think we're heading in a good direction. But I really do believe that fundraising, and I'm just echoing what Jeff said, it's not too soon to start, for sure.
Any other questions, comments? Danny?
When talking about fundraising early, were we not told that whatever money we fundraise would come off the top of what the government would give us? In other words, if the project is at $20 million and we raise $1 million, they will give us a portion of 19 million rather than a portion of 20. Am I correct in saying that? We were told that by the politicians. And I think that's why we had discussed that maybe fundraising ahead of time, it made it very difficult because we felt that fundraising should start early. But if it was going to take away from what we were going to get from the government, then there was really not that much point in fundraising too early, because they're going to take that off the top. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. And I'm just wondering.
Jeff, Victoria?
So I think one of the things that's changed, and you're right, Danny, that's what we were told, or at least when they were doing the math at the table with us, that was abundantly clear. That's what they're thinking. But I think one of the things that's changed with this project is that it's gone from a project we hope to do under $20 million to a 2-phase project that we're going to do concurrently. So what I would suggest to you, Danny, Warden, is that if we're going to be successful in doing 2 phases at once, the fundraising is going to have to be done. And I think we are fully within our rights in dealing with government to say, you know what, this is a lot bigger than you're willing to share on in its entirety. So no, the fundraising portion does not subsidize the provincial or federal expectation on the project. I think it goes towards that phase 2 element that the community, I think, is going to want.
Yeah. Okay. That just had to clarify, because
No, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, I seen Pam, then Trevor.
Yeah, I agree. They did say that, Danny. But I would say this respectfully. How do you raise money in a community when you tell the community that they're subsidizing the feds and the province? So I think it would be relatively simple to make sure when we do fundraise that we say every single penny is not going, none of it's going towards those shares. This is community money given for a reason. And I don't think there's one person in the public that would give, 10 cents if they thought that it was not going to help the community outside of the other levels of government. So I think we can sell that relatively easy.
Trevor?
Yes, so, Mr. Chair, my understanding what's been said here, just to clarify, what I'm hearing is that we should, and I agree, that we should, is 3 units in a community undertake the fundraising activity, as soon as possible. Perhaps, Mr. Chair, through you to the CAOs, would it be useful to have a motion to the 3 units, allowing some of those, just like with the other motion, or similar to the other motion, that we'd make a motion here potentially to allow some funds to be spent to begin the fundraising process, to perhaps engage a company to begin the plan to begin fundraising in the community.
CAOs, you have any? Victoria?
So, I hear where you're coming from, Deputy Warden Cunningham. I'm just thinking about our own motion and what I understand the town in Argyle's motions to be that created the pot of 225,000 is that they were directed to reopening 275 Main Street.
Oh, yes.
So
correct.
we may need to recommend an allocation for professional services to begin fundraising if that's the route the main committee wants to recommend to council.
So just a follow-up question, Mr. Chair. So if we were to recommend that, and that wouldn't be from those bridge funds, that's my mistake. I didn't think about that issue. If we were to do that, we'd have to have some source of funding. So would it be that we would recommend that perhaps the COs and wardens, or perhaps perhaps the new bill committee perhaps we could take this down to the new bill committee and they could make a recommendation, about this to us, and then we could ask the 3 units for the dollars. All that seems like maybe a good idea. It may take too long. I'm not certain. So
Yeah.
again, through you, Mr. Chair, to the CAOs.
So the CEOs talked about this a little bit on Monday, and what we can do when the 4 of us get together next week is kind of talk about what it looks like. Because as Jeff shared, there's kind of 2 streams, right? There's the philanthropy stream, and then there's the corporate stream, and they have very, very different alignment with the steps in a major project like this, capital versus operating. And I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending a dollar amount to my council because I'm really not sure what kind of resources I need to engage a professional. So maybe the CAOs can do a little bit of legwork and a little bit of homework, and we can come back as soon as possible, as soon as reasonable, with some information to the new build subcommittee, and then we'll bring it on up through that way maybe.
That sounds like a good direction. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, is there any more? Guy?
This comment or question will go to Victoria. Victoria, if I'm understanding this right, I'll say first of all that I would want a number, like a number. What's it going to cost for this consultant? Is that what you're kind of referring to by going to CAOs?
Yeah, so generally, if I'm not mistaken, this type of work has a commission element to it. And what Jeff was talking about was the first step is kind of having somebody come into the community and have some conversations and give us a sense of what they think we can feasibly raise on the philanthropy side for capital. And there's going to probably be a professional fee associated with that rather than commission. So yeah, we got to do a little bit of legwork to bring some data back to the team.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments, recommendations, or would that be it? Trevor?
No, fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
We vote on this one?
No, there was no motion on the floor yet, but I did see
Oh.
hands come up. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just wondering, during our committee meeting there, the bridge committee, there was some talk about some, from Mr. Brophy, some things that might need to be ordered in that could take 3 or 4 months to get ahead of time. And there was some talk about maybe getting him to shortlist the things that, may need to be ordered in for the YMCA, because if we wait till, maybe August or so to get the approval, it could take 3 months to get it in. So it would be more of a kind of not approval of spending or anything, but maybe shortlist what we really, really need. And if there's something that we, need to get on the kind of in the hopper now, it might be smart to do, especially with COVID, how long things take. So just heads up on that.
Jeff?
Yeah, so I followed up with Mark on that just to try to put a finer point on what that would actually be. And the item that is of concern is the lights within the pool. So some of you or most of you will recall there was an incident involving the lights in the pool area, not necessarily being suitable to that environment, or at least no longer suitable, we'll put it that way. So it is the intention to replace those lights, and Mark is concerned about the delivery time on those. I don't have a number for you, but I believe it's under $10,000.
Good with it? Pam, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask the timelines thing. So councils have to ratify this, and I think the Bridge Committee had a little bit of a conversation around timing. Certainly the community wants to move this, so I'll just call a special meeting tomorrow. Are we all on board with doing that, all three councils, to call, special meetings to get this done, so we're not waiting a month between every meeting?
Danny?
If I may, yes. We're going to be having a special meeting. Whether it's this week, I'm not sure yet, but I know we cut our last meeting short because for what a number of reasons that there were a few things that we wanted to discuss at that meeting that we never got to. So we're going to be calling it a special meeting, and I haven't spoken about a date with Alain, but I'm sure that it's going to be very, very soon. Like, because of March break and some of the people that may or may not be available, I don't know, but it could be as early as early next week. I don't have a date yet, but we are going to be calling a special meeting to deal with issues like this for sure.
Yeah, I think Durham's chomping, ready to get going. So don't want to hold you back, Durham.
Our next regular scheduled council meeting is next Wednesday, but if the need arises that it needs to be done right away, I have no problem calling special meetings. We had to call a special meeting last week in regards to recommendations that come out of in camera, and I consider this no different. As soon as feasibly, I certainly won't be waiting a month, and I do know that there's push out there to move things along, but we are meeting next week on a regularly scheduled meeting. So,
and if I may, can I ask a question here through?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what we just approved here, does that have to go? And I mean, saying that it for the Mariner Center to go ahead and build the municipalities. I mean, we've already approved the budget. We've already approved the money, right? So does it have to go back to our council to ratify what we just approved here as a committee? Like to get the Mariner Center in charge of doing that. Does that have to go back to our councils?
I think that'd be a question more for Jeff or Victoria.
So because we're three separate councils and we're trying to do a project together, our decision-making process is a bit bulky, but it is what it is. Town council can't make decisions for District of Argyle or vice versa, or Modi can't make decisions for Argyle or the town. So we have three bodies, and this is an important decision. Who is going to do this work for us? And we each independently approved a bucket of money, but I don't have the authority. Town council doesn't have the authority to tell Durham to spend your money. So it is a bit bulky, Danny, no question, but I think once Mariner Center has this mandate and the clear authority to spend some money to get it done, I think that work, my expectation is that it will be more efficient to get us to the next milestone, which is to have that work completed and have it to look at and understand what it looks like.
Victoria, then Durham.
Yep, so I would echo what Jeff said, and maybe to help make the process be more smooth, maybe if the three councils and the band were to co-sign a mandate letter for the management authority and say, you know, we're tasking you with this general project with funds allocated from these sources, and you kind of, here's your parameters in it, just so that the management authority doesn't have to come back to the four of us and keep asking questions. Maybe a mandate letter would be helpful.
Durham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just building on Danny and Victoria's comments, I'm clear on the approval process through to the municipalities. Is it then in a mandate letter to the Mariner Center Board Authority, or does the Board Authority have to review, comment, and approve as well? Is there a hurdle there at the end of all this? At what point do we say go?
Victoria.
So Durham, you report to your board. And so none of this body here, nor any of the councils individually or collectively can give you direction. So it is a letter to your board, providing, I'll call it a mandate letter. I'm not sure we can mandate the board to do it if the board doesn't want to do it, in which case, Houston, we have a problem. But assuming the board is agreeable to it, you know, they're going to have questions for you, Durham, about, you know, how to resource this extra effort that's required above and beyond what you're doing. So that's why a mandate letter is important, I think, from the four of us. So the three municipalities and the Acadia Band, so that you can kind of understand what you're going to have to tell your board that you're going to need in terms of extra resources.
And then, of
having
course,
said that, though, I think your board chair can also call a special meeting.
yes, great. Yeah, for timing consideration. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Guy.
Just a comment. My God Almighty, there's so many layers of bureaucracy. It just flips me almost upside down. Honest to God, it's, you know, it makes you wonder if this thing is even going to move. But anyhow, it's just my frustration. I see Durham and I see Jeff, and Victoria's not smiling, but she's probably smiling inside. But I know it is what it is, but oh my God. Oh, but anyhow, it's just my frustration. I just want to let you know it's too bad there's not a simpler way, but I understood what Jeff said and Victoria understand it. Gee whiz, guys. Thank you.
It all boils down to, Guy, is the terms of reference that all three councils agreed to. So, Victoria?
If I can, Mr. Chair. So I share the frustration, and this is not unlike any other kind of project kickoff or creating a foundation for a project. And when you're talking about, you know, a bridge facility plus a new build that's, you know, north of $20 million, this kind of investment is front loaded heavy for decision makers. I think once the steps are approved and we're off to the races doing the work, I think you'll see the speed and the tempo pick up a little bit.
Gil, you have your microphone off. Did you want to speak?
No, no, I think enough's been said.
Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and this is a little bit outside the parameters of the meeting, but obviously for all the counselors and all the public that's online, consolidation would solve this issue among the three units. So I would agree with Councillor from Argyle that there are tremendous layers of bureaucracy here, and of course, because we are three separate units, necessitates approval from all three. We are three independent entities, and if we were consolidated, this process would be much less cumbersome. Thanks.
Okay, Trevor, thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
the public will have the ultimate decision and all that. That's for sure. Okay, is there any more discussion on that item? Hearing, I don't see any. If you have anything to say, please speak up. If not, the date of the next meeting, we will tentatively schedule it for 2 weeks from today, same time. Unless someone wants to meet sooner or later, or if we need to meet sooner, if there's any recommendations that come from any other committee, I can certainly get staff to send out a doodle poll and get it expedited as soon as possible. So tentatively, I guess it would be 2 weeks from now. I don't have a calendar in front of me. That date would be, from what I see here, March the 30th. So March the 30th, tentatively at 3:30. Is that okay with everyone? Mark that in your calendars. If needed, we'll go on a little quicker.
I probably won't be available, but that's okay. I'm having my surgery on the 29th.
Okay, Danny. Yeah.
John, Trevor here, March 30th will not be good for me either. It's one of the few dates that is not good.
We'll tentatively set it for that. I think we're having the new build committee meeting, I think next Tuesday. There might be something that comes out of that, so we'll see. We'll just tentatively schedule that in, and we'll send out a doodle poll if it comes up on the agenda item.
Perfect, thanks.
At least we'll have a date set. I'd rather not leave it up in the air right now. All right, so hearing that, thank you everyone for joining, and I guess a motion to adjourn is in order. Moved by Danny, seconded by Pam. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Rachel. Gonna be a lot of work.
Rachel, you'll see where I CC'd you on an email, just to have you added to distribution lists. And if there's other members of your team that you want included for certain things, you can let Vicky Pierce know, and we'll make sure we get everybody in the loop.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I seen that come in.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.